Chapter 7 is called Star Patient Surprises Everyone. On October 1st, I lay in bed with my eyes closed, rehearsing a new joke. As I imagined Dr. Beavis's laughter, my leg itched. Without thinking, I scratched the itch, and then I realized what I'd done, and my eyes suddenly opened. Did I just use my hand? After 3 weeks of not feeling anything, I was almost afraid to believe it for fear I dreamt it. Holding my breath, I tried it again. The fingers on my left hand moved back and forth. I can move my own hand, I yelled. 2 nurses rushed into the room. Look, I can move my left hand. I wiggled my fingers jubilantly. Get Dr. Beavis, one of the nurses said. She smiled at me as the other nurse hurried into the room. Can she really do it? Asked Tommy. Can she move her hand? Yes, said the nurse. Her fingers are moving. Hooray! Shrieked Tommy. The Lone Ranger rides again. Dr. Beavis came pounding in. What is all of this shouting about? Feeling triumphant, I moved my fingers. Try to turn your hand over, he said. I tried. My hand didn't go all the way, but it moved. It definitely moved. It was a Christmas and my birthday and the 4th of July all happening at the same time. I could move my hand. Dr. Beavis turned my hand palm up. Try to bend your arm, he said. My hand lifted an inch or so off the bed before it dropped back down. What about the other hand? Is there any movement in the other hand? To my complete astonishment, my right hand moved too. Bending at the elbow, my lower arm raised several inches and I waved my fingers at Dr. Beavis. By then I was so excited. I felt as if I could jump up from that bed and run laps around the hospital. This is wonderful, Dr. Beavis said. This is terrific. I agreed. When your mother makes her daily phone call, Dr. Beavis said, she's going to be thrilled. In the next few days, I improved rapidly. Soon, I could use both hands, then my arms. I was able to sit up, starting with 2 minutes and working up to a half hour. Movement returned to my legs too. My arms were still really weak, but I learned to feed myself again, which did wonders for both my attitude and my appetite. I was no longer totally helpless. With my bed cranked up, I could balance a book on my stomach and turn the pages myself. I'd always liked to read, and now books provided hours of entertainment. The hospital had a small library. Day after day, I lost myself in books. I began reading out loud to Tommy. I quit only when my voice got hoarse, but even then he always begged me to read just one more page. I preferred reading silently because it was faster, but I felt sorry for Tommy, who was still stuck in the iron lung, unable to hold a book. I was clearly getting better. He was not. Each day, I read to him until my voice gave out. Dr. Beavis continued to praise and encourage me. Mrs. Crab bragged about my progress. The nurses called me their star patient. I realized that no one had thought I would ever regain the use of my arms and legs. A week after I first moved my hand, Dr. Beavis said he wanted to see if I could stand by myself. First, he helped me sit on the edge of the bed. Then, with a nurse on each side, I was eased off the bed until my feet touched the floor. Each nurse had a hand firmly under one of my armpits, holding me up. Lock your knees, Dr. Beavis instructed. Stand up straight. I tried to do as he said. We're going to let go, he said, but we won't let you fall. When the nurses drop their arms, see if you can stand by yourself. Tommy, my iron lung cheerleader, hollered, Do it, Kimosabe, do it! It was wonderful to feel myself in an upright position again. I was sure I'd be able to stand alone. I even imagined taking a step or two. All right, Dr. Beavis said to me. Let go. As soon as they released me, I toppled. Without support, my legs were like cooked spaghetti. The nurses and Dr. Beavis all grabbed me up to help me keep from crashing on the floor. Disappointment filled me. I could tell the others were disappointed too. The strength returned so quickly to my arms and my hands that everyone expected that my legs would do better too. I'm sorry, I said. I really tried. It's going to happen, Dr. Beavis said. They helped me back into bed and I was grateful to lie down again. Standing for that short of time, even with the help, had exhausted me. It made my back ache. The twice daily hot packs and stretching continued, and so did my progress. Each small achievement, such as being able to wiggle the toes in one foot, was heralded with great joy. I had to keep my feet flat against a board of the foot of the bed in order to prevent them from drooping forward permanently, and I longed to lie in bed without that board. Although I was delighted with every small accomplishment, I wondered why I got better and some of the other patients didn't. Tommy might spend the rest of his life in an iron lung, and that just didn't seem fair. I mentioned this to Dr. Beavis. Some cases of polio are severe and some are mild, he said. When the polio virus completely destroys a nerve center, the muscles controlled by that center are paralyzed forever. If the damage is slight rather than total, the paralysis is temporary. Your muscles were severely weakened, but the nerve damage was not total. It's possible for weak muscles to gain back some of their strength. So, Tommy's polio is worse than mine? I said. That's right. It also helped that your parents took you to the doctor right away. You were already here and diagnosed when you needed oxygen. Some people who have respiratory polio aren't that lucky. I remembered how hard it was to breathe and how much oxygen I needed in that oxygen tent. Dr. Beavis continued. Most people, they think that they have the flu and they don't get medical help until the paralysis sets in. By the time they learn that they have polio and get to a hospital that's equipped to treat them, the patients often have to go straight into an iron lung. They don't get hot packs or physical therapy until they can breathe on their own again, which might be several months. The sooner Sister Kenny treatments are started, the more they help. He smiled at me. You are one lucky girl. But it wasn't luck, I thought. It was quick action by my parents. They helped create my good luck. I've been wondering something else too, I asked. How did I get polio when not one other person in my town has it? Many people have polio and never know it, Dr. Beavis said. It's highly contagious, but because their symptoms are so slight, they don't even go to a doctor. There are probably thousands of cases of polio every year that are so mild that they're never diagnosed. So I caught it from someone who didn't know that they had it, I said. It seemed unbelievable to me that anyone could have polio and not realize it. Mail was delivered every afternoon, and I looked forward to a daily letter from my mother. Most of her letters were signed, Love, Mother, and Dad. But a few were signed with a muddy paw print. Those were from my dog BJ, telling me he had chased a cat or buried a bone. Grandpa depended on Mother to tell me any news, but he sent a gift each week when my parents came to visit. Art wrote about college life and sent me a new teddy bear just like the one that got burned. One mail delivery included a big brown packet from my school in Austin, and when I opened it, dozens of letters from my classmates tumbled out. Karen wrote about a student petition to change the rules so girls could wear pants to school instead of dresses. Another girl complained that her new haircut was too short. A third was outraged at the basketball referee. I had the strange feeling that I was reading about a different lifetime. The other kids were upset about such unimportant things. Just a few weeks earlier, I too had worried about clothes and hair and the basketball team. Now none of it mattered. I had faced death. I had lived with excruciating pain and with the loneliness and uncertainty about the future. Bad haircuts and ball games would never bother me again. Even the petition to allow girls to wear pants to school, a cause I supported, really failed to excite me. I would happily wear a gunny sack, I thought, if I could walk into school. Be glad you're not here, one boy wrote. You aren't missing anything but tests and too much homework. He's wrong, I thought. I miss my own room and playing with BJ and helping Grandpa in the garden. I miss my piano lessons and roller skating and licking the pan when Mom makes fudge. I miss visiting my aunts and uncles. I miss riding my bike with Karen and playing Monopoly with Richard. I put the letters aside, knowing I was changed forever. My world was now the hospital. Would I have anything in common with my classmates when I went home? I felt closer to Tommy, whose head was the only part of him that I had ever seen, than I did to the kids who used to be my dearest friends. Tommy understood what it was like to have polio, and my school friends, they would never know. And that's the end of chapter 7. So, respond with what happened in this chapter. What sorts of feelings do you have in your head? And what sorts feelings do you have in your head? What sort of thoughts do you have in your head? What sorts of feelings do you have in your heart?